I have my little lapel mic. I think I'm just gonna give up on that and just talk normally. So hopefully the audio sounds all right. But really thought I'd want to take more of a break from YouTube, or I wouldn't really be motivated to, talk about lifting or make videos for lifting. But what I kind of found was that after I made that decision yesterday, I won't say reinvigorated me, but it kind of just motivated me to, talk about what my goals are and kind of the things that I think kind of went awry and why, like yesterday, I wasn't able to lift as well as I thought a week out, and kind of demotivate me and discourage me from wanting to, drive 2 hours to lift poorly and waste my friend's time and my own time and then drive 2 hours back. So, yesterday, I missed a 120 snatch, missed 123 twice, and then made it, but then missed 127, and it wasn't like it felt close. And then with the clean jerks, made a 140 and 151, didn't even try the jerk because the clean felt so bad. And it's odd because I don't feel like I'm weak right now, but I think I'm just too slow. And I think that's kind of, you saw my community posts, like some of the replies I mentioned, cutting weight. And I put 225, and I think that's generally, obviously the direction I'm going to go if I'm losing weight. I don't know if I'm going to get all the way to 225. I'm going to cut pretty aggressively, or at least, not try to gain weight anymore, of course, but get to 230, probably honestly sooner rather than later, and then see how I feel there as far as, the speed on lifts. But also I'm going to measure the speed on lifts. If you've been a long time viewer of the channel, you probably remember using this a while ago. It's the brand has changed. It's a VMAX Pro, but it just is an accelerometer. So today what I'm going to do is some hang power snatches and then some hang snatch pulls, and then just kind of measure the speed. So I'll be looking at my phone over there a lot for that, and just kind of assessing the speed on the lifts and seeing just, kind of getting benchmark numbers for that. But the general idea of what I'm going to be doing in this kind of like next phase of training, it's obviously losing weight. But the main method from which I'm going to lose weight is to make sure I put 15,000 steps. I think that's probably not really feasible every day. If it's a school day, then it probably will be, because I will have a huge chunk of that covered just from work. But obviously the summer is right around here. So if I get 12,000, 10, 12,000, and make sure I get that every day, that should be sufficient, because I'm just trying not to eat as much. And it's not really hard for me to not eat as much. I just eat when I'm hungry. Avoid all, kinds of junk food or whatever. Not that I necessarily ate a lot anyway, but just kind of don't stuff myself, and I'll probably lose weight relatively easily, and then I'll make adjustments with that. But to help develop the speed, I kind of went through and, wrote not a structured program that I'm going to follow, week to week, but just at least what I'm going to do for this week, which each day in the mornings to have a lot of mobility work, because I think that's something that will just help my body feel better in general, and just help positions and probably speed as well if I'm just more mobile from head to toe, as well as adding more cardio in. I'm not as super worried about that, but it is something, will help to obviously lose weight and, give me more steps and whatnot. A lot of that will be done through the walking and stuff. But the exercise selection I have during the week will still allow me to train every day. But essentially I'll have two exercises that I do. So today is hang power snatch and hang snatch pull. Tomorrow it will be hang cleans and then hang clean pulls, something like that. It's kind of the general theme, is to start with light movements that I'm really focusing on moving on speed, and then eventually go into more of the full movements later in the week. And then that Saturday still being a day where I kind of combine the lifts on one day, and it being kind of like the most voluminous session. But this, in theory, would be like a Sunday session. Hang power snatches, trying to move fast and snappy. Hang snatch pulls, same kind of thing. So I have the accelerometer to kind of get benchmarks. Then I can kind of see, how I'm feeling with that. And I don't know so much like volume or anything like that either. So I'll have to see, kind of how that feels as well. But I will be using straps. I suppose that's another thing I can kind of try to avoid too for a little bit, is just using anything on my knees and stuff. But especially on a day like this, it won't really be that hard because it's just powers. But the goal of each of the days is, to have a specific exercise category that is still productive. Like I'm still trying to do volume and trying to train normally, but really just trying to, move well and correctly. And a lot of the days, like the exercise movement could change depending on what I want to do, but essentially it goes to a snatch focus day, a clean focus day, a jerk focus day, and then repeats twice, with Saturday being the combination of those, and then squats and pulls. Like tomorrow, I think is clean pulls, and then the day after that is back squats, and then so I think squatting is 3 times a week. But then a lot of that is I'll play around with that as I'm moving around. But the general idea is to move faster and like physically move faster, not through exercises, but during the duration of the exercise. And another general theme of kind of the progression that I have thought up is to have, and I say this not as if it's actually, but like 3 sessions every day. So the morning is mobility, which is honestly the hardest time to do mobility. Usually it's easier to do it at night, but to do mobility, to walk a little bit, to just do shoulder care, and really what that's going to be is to have a resistance band and really do a bunch of pull aparts, to do tricep extensions in front, and then do the same thing up top. And really just get hypertrophy, just get blood pumping into the shoulders. I think that'll just be generally good to do every day. It's not difficult, it's not like I'm going to get sore from that, but it is going to give me that little bit of pump and then kind of continue with the day. So maybe I'll have jack shoulders, who knows. But I think it'll just be good to do with that. And then session 2 is the weightlifting, so whatever movement selection I have for that day. And then the third session is basically making sure that I either do cardio, maybe some plyos. I'm going to start, because I haven't done them in a very long time, really, really light plyos like today. So it's more focused on just trying to elevate the heart rate a little bit versus, trying to jump really high and stuff. But just trying to move more dynamically and not just in a weightlifting aspect. And then that third session will be kind of making sure I get as many steps in the evenings as I need to, or at night, whatever it happens to be. So that's kind of my mindset right now, is trying to lose some weight. And I honestly 15 pounds might be a lot. There's really like a couple that I'll lose pretty quick. Like I think I'll get to 237, 238 relatively quickly. I'm still taking creatine and stuff. So, I mean, if I stopped creatine, then obviously I lose a lot of water mass right away. But if I'm, consistently in a deficit, I think I'll lose a couple pounds pretty quickly. I think in the lower 230s, or once I get to 235, I'll probably hit some resistance, and then, might drop a little bit more, from there faster or whatever. I don't know how exactly it'll work for me, but as I start to get closer to that 230 mark, then I'll kind of reassess how I feel and maybe, go to 225 all the way, see how, things are moving in that regard. So I'm not thinking that I'll necessarily be struggling to train. I'm not going to, feel necessarily significantly weak or anything like that. I don't think I'm going to be in that aggressive of a deficit. What I'm hoping is that, even if the squats and stuff don't feel great, which would make sense why they wouldn't, but hopefully I feel like I'm moving faster as I'm going down, but also not just have to think about that, I'll have to measure that. And I think that's, one thing that helped my mindset yesterday was, I was like, man, this sucks. I wanted to, hit PRs. I wanted to lift heavy on that day, and it just wasn't going to happen, or wasn't likely to happen. So what different goals, and losing weight is a measurable goal. So that's easy to measure. I can weigh myself every day. Lifting, obviously that's measurable because you can see how much weight you lifted. But how do I feel faster? It's subjective, but thankfully I have an accelerometer that I can use, which is strange. It's every couple of years I pull it out and use a little bit, but I have something where I can measure the speed. But also the mobility aspect too is what do I want to actually improve? Because being more mobile is too nebulous and it's too subjective, because what mobility means to you might be different to another person. And so I set some different goals related to that. A lot of that's being able to do a snatch SOTS press without any shoulder discomfort, because I still kind of have some of that when I'm in the bottom of a squat. So trying to build into that, and that's something I could add into that kind of morning routine instead of just using the band. Maybe have I have an old shower rod that I use for shoulder mobility, and so using that because it doesn't have any weight, and going through the range of motion. Same with a clean grip SOTS press, and that might not be feasible just because I've never ever been able to really do it comfortably in any sort of significant way. but like it's nice to have something that I'm in theory pushing to do. And then just in general, just feeling more, I guess, upright maybe in the bottom, but I didn't feel like my mobility was necessarily bad, but like that's kind of like shoulder and upper body is what I'm trying to focus on. But feeling comfortable in the snatch side press, that will be good to do. And then clean side press, that will just mean like thoracic and everything. Upper body is really mobile as well. As far as the speed, I don't have goals on the speed of the movements, but I just want to consistently use that thing again because I have it. It's Encode now, or Enode, right? I think Enode. It's a different brand name, but apparently it's still, the technology, my thing will still work fine. But it was rebranded with that, so I don't think you need to buy a VMAX Pro anymore. But I do plan on using it, maybe not for every session, for every exercise, but on a day like this where the goal is to try to move fast, like really try to use that and then have measurable days where I can see the speed. Because I remember the issue I had with it before is that I would try to use it for everything all the time, and then it just became like, well, I'm trying to move the weight fast, so like I'm not seeing any like difference with that. But having it on different specific days and then doing the similar weights could be useful with that. So being able to at least measure that will be good, and then I'll be able to see, if I go up to like 80 kilos today, seeing if that's different today than on a different day on different specific things. So I don't know. It's in some sense it was disappointing, and I felt kind of crummy, and I tried not to be too sad in that post because I really wasn't necessarily sad. I was more like it was more like a realization than it was like anything else. But I did a bunch of yard work yesterday and just moved around, and after that I kind of just like was thinking about what am I going to focus on health and exercise wise. And I think a lot of the stuff that I just talked about, that's what I was thinking about yesterday and kind of coming up with. And it will certainly keep me busy, and it isn't the end at all as far as me training, of course. And I'm not injured or anything like that, like I said, but I just want to move well, and I still want to attack heavier numbers. Like I still want to do that 140, 170, but I think that as the door closes, as I have gained weight, it just hasn't worked. And it's easy to kind of double down and be like, I'll just gain more weight because I'll just get stronger, but it's not making me any faster. And that's not to say I'll never try to weigh 110 again, but I think that being much more strict with my diet each day, if I am trying to bulk, and just making sure that as I gain weight, that it's slower in the sense that I'm not just gaining weight and just hoping that it goes up and just not paying attention to the exercises that I'm doing. Assessing the speed of my lifts will be useful in that as well if I decide in the future to add more body weight, because then I'll be able to assess at which point the speed slows down. And if I have enough data, then that allows me to see that obviously in an objective way. But it will actually give me a better benchmark of where my body weight should be, because if I'm doing, say, hang power snatches, I'll just say 80 kilos just so I have a number. If I'm doing that multiple times at, say, 225, and I move it at, speed 1, and I go up to 230 and it's still at speed 1, then I could say, all right, my speed is not impacted by this additional weight, because in theory, more body weight is going to be better for strength. But then if I go to, say, 235 and then now it's at speed 2, or, I'm just making, this is not an actual measurement, but like if it goes down in a statistically significant way, then it's like, all right, this is where I need to be between is 230, 235. Because like I mentioned, the weight classes for me, like I'm not going down 94, 110, I think I've established is kind of like I don't say my natural limit, but like that's my body weight limit of like where things really start to break down. Like I probably would get stronger if I continue to gain weight, but obviously not going to get any faster at this juncture. And maybe I'll find that, as I, just get back into normal training, that I feel better. And maybe I, messed up programming with that, but I really thought I did a pretty good job of, moving through stuff. And I think it's, not to blame body weight, but I think I just got a little too big. And I think that just made me move a little bit slower. Because even with like when I'm pulling these weights and stuff, they feel really good off the ground. I just can't get under it or can't get it behind me, and I think mobility comes into that, but just the speed of it. And I think that just being a general weakness for me is something good to work on. But with that being said, I'm going to start and stop this clip, and then we'll start hitting some lifts. So I'm just going to leave that in, and you just have to have a long video. But I don't know. Like I said, I thought I'd be more unmotivated to train and to kind of talk about training. But for me, I almost feel reinvigorated with it, because now it's all right, I have assessed a problem, speed, and losing body weight will probably just be good in general, health-wise. And so if I can sit closer to, and I will be throwing knee wraps on, I don't know what I'm talking about, thinking about not wearing them, but if I'm faster, I'm obviously going to be able to move better in the snatch and the clean and jerk, but it's a balancing act. And I think Clarence Kennedy talked about gaining weight and it not helping him, and I unfortunately have experienced a similar thing, because really I had a best squat. I hit everything that was like a strong front squat, PR, lifetime PR back squat, and I'm not anywhere near a PR snatch or clean and jerk, and that's the lifts I care more about than squatting more or whatever at that. So, getting healthy as far as just feeling good every day, as far as, joint wise, will be good with mobility. But yeah, thankfully it wasn't any injury or anything that prevented me from wanting to compete. It was just me being too slow and weak, which is hopefully fixable. And maybe I'm just getting old, I'm 31, I'll be 32 this year. Maybe it's just I'm too old, but I feel like I got another, at least 5-6 years of really hard training to really push myself. And I think just where I need to improve is just get more mobile, be less bent on doing both the lifts in the same day, and just kind of what I talked about, having less, still the same frequency of training, because I like that, and I think it's still good to do. I think it's still viable, but just having less total exercises that I do each day on those whatever sessions, and just allowing myself to lock in a little bit more on those. So I'm going to get my knee wraps on and all of that, and then I guess the next clip you'll see is me doing that. But I'm just going to make this a super long video. I apologize if the audio sounds bad. I got my mic over there, the thing I used before for the mic that video is charging. I don't think it was charged at all, so we'll eventually use that, but I'm not going to bug for this one. So if you made it to this part of my TED Talk, I appreciate it. But let's do some lifting. So I got the sensor on the bar. I don't know if you can see it. It's on the left side. But I think what I'm going to do today is just doubles or triples. I guess we'll see how they feel. But hang above the knee powers. So in my app thing, you can make your own exercise. I put it as just a hang snatch above the knee. I don't think it matters if it's a power or not. But we'll see. Either way, it's just assessing the speed. So hopefully, this is my first actual set of doing anything. So who knows how it will move. I haven't used straps in a while either. That's something I did do good this year. It's a lot of no strap lifts, but for hangs, I'm definitely using straps. Definitely gonna take my glasses off. So I almost habitually went to turn off the camera, but we're just gonna leave it rolling. So well, I don't think it knows my current max or anything, so all right. I'm gonna go up to 50 kilos. I don't know the specific weight that I'm going to get up to today, but we'll do triples like that. And just keep adding weight. See the speed. All right. Going from 258 to 233 meters a second. It's trying to tell me I've reached my reps, but I don't even know what I picked for the session. So you can pick and we'll just kind of guess stuff that you need to do. So I go to 60. Or grab the other straps. These ones just get caught on the knurling. I don't know why. And I've used them forever. But this material just slides over a little bit better. I remember from before, I think like the minimum to get under, maybe it was like 1.8 or 1.79 or something. Obviously this is, way above that, but that was 2.3 instead of 2.33, so I'm not getting slower. Well, yes, I am slightly. All right. It also estimates your 1 rep max on it, which is interesting. Obviously, if I add weight, my speed doesn't go down. Like I'm not gonna move. You can only move 40 kilos so fast. Otherwise, you just throw it. It says my 1 rep max estimate is 83.5 kilos. So I'm sure once I do a set here, it'll be 90 or whatever. Unless I move real slow. Was what, 245, so I went faster. Oh no, that was slower. Takes the average. Now estimates, I guess the average is getting a little messed up, but the fastest one was the first one at 252. And the one before that was 261, 277, 261. Same thing for 60 kilos, so. Or same thing with 50 is faster. Interesting data. So, we'll go up to 80 now. I think this might not be a triple. We'll see. Get some chalk on my hands. I haven't used any yet. I mean, in theory, like, you know, the more weight I can hang power, you know, the faster I'm moving. So, like I said, there's not a rep scheme or goal to get today. Just try to get benchmarks. Oh, just one there. So it's 250. It says my one rep max is 106. So we'll try 90. I guess we'll just go up till it feels bad. Which historically is about 90 here. I feel like my best ever is 105. We'll see what your boys are at the camera. We're at 10 minutes. Well, since I was sitting right there, because my camera has a 20-minute filming limit, then it just it shuts off. There's a way to configure it so you can get around it, but I'm too lazy to, and I don't normally have 20-minute clips, so it usually doesn't matter. All right. I suppose another thing I get better at is coming right up and then going right into it, but not too worried about that today. Really ever, but at least for warm-up sets, it could be a way to be a little bit more dynamic. that's a good point to stop. Definitely felt heavy. But it's my 1 rep max estimate at 120. That's funny. Which honestly, like, not for a power, but for a full one, is probably pretty accurate. So that's 2.35. What was 80 at? 250. Kind of want to go and do it again. So just do the same weight again. Felt a little bit in my left knee, but not too bad. Alright. This one I'm going to try to do like a, not wait up here and gather my thoughts, so just go right into it. See if that makes it feel better or worse. Fell off. I will say I did feel better though. I have to keep that in mind, just to commit to doing it, not wait. I don't know why the reading was a little bit weird on it. We'll do one more there. I'll try to actually set it down so the thing doesn't fly off. Alright. Still 90 though. Try to do it right into it from the pull. Yeah, it was definitely a worse rep. Pressed out with a left arm. I felt like I jumped forward, but I think it's just less of just me not jumping back. But it's not increasing my 1 rep max. I guess I would have to do more weight and then move it a similar way. But what I'm going to do now is loosen my knee sleeves, the wraps. But I need to create an exercise for hang snatch pulls. And we'll start them at 90 and then push up with there. I'll be curious to see how those feel, but not too bad for those. You know, decent amount of volume, I suppose, but like I said, the goal today is try to move fast, less about necessarily, you know, accruing a bunch of repetitions, even though, you know, that's still good to do. But I guess 90 is kind of a good weight for, you know, hang powers, where I'm challenged a lot, but I'm not, you know, missing or having to do anything too crazy. So suppose we'll kind of see how that 80-90 kilos feels week to week as I work up on these days, and see if I'm able to, you know, move them a little bit more effectively. I think powers will be something that will feel better as I get lighter too. We'll see, but wrap these up and then get these wrapped, and then figure out the exercise. But I'll go ahead and talk to you in the next. I'll talk to you all in the next part of the session. All right, we're all set up for pulls. We get the exercise added in. Sensor says it's optimized for single reps, but we ain't doing singles. These will be above the knee, kind of an extension of what I just did. We'll see what happens when I do triples. All right. Says my 1 rep max is 127.8. So what I think I will do, let's go to 100. See how that feels. Obviously, it's not really going to be, it's not a be all end all for, you know, 1 rep maxes. These both. I have misloaded at some point. This is a Rogue 5-pounder and not a 4 kilo or 2 kilo plate. It's not significant enough to. That's why I lifted back to this comp. Been using a 5-pound plate instead of 2 kilos. But and what I want to do with this accelerometer is not use it every session, but just use it on days like this where it's focused on trying to move fast and less about, you know, not necessarily the weight. But it's also nice because it tells me like the bar path and stuff like that. I don't know if that goes into the estimation of the 1 rep max, but it's probably mostly just the speed. Yeah, I feel in my left knee a little bit, but it's not enough to make me not be able to like do the lift hard. Now it says 1 rep max 142, but while that's probably actually a pretty accurate number, I think for like a day like this, the goal is to try to move the weight quickly. So getting up to 100, just 10 more kilos than I did with the hang power snatch will be good for this session. So we'll do 100 again. Just do it till I feel like not doing it. But I mean, this is in excess of what I was hang power snatching today. So it seems like it would be a good weight for me to use for this movement. To kind of build that specific strength for that top end of the pull. And I guess the extension of the legs. Try to do them athletically on that one. Again, feeling the left knee a little bit. So, suppose that's something that could have just randomly started to hurt on the meet day, and I would have sapped all my strength. But yeah, it's like 1.9, 1.87. So, like I mentioned before, like that's about, if I remember correctly, like the minimum speed to go under a lift. It might have been as low as like 1.79, but could be wrong about that. I'm sure there actually is probably data about like 1 rep max snatches. I feel like I have read those charts, but it feels like a correct weight based on that speed. Or lack thereof. But interesting, all the reps moved about the same. It was like 1.9, 1.87, and 1.9. See if we can get to 2 on this one. It's hard to do those connected to make sure it's like going at the same spot and I'm not like rocking my feet too crazily. Now it says my 1 rep max is 162 or 161.7. So the middle one was 197. So that's 3 sets with 100. Then we'll do 1 or 2 more sets. But I think what you're hopefully kind of seeing is that with these individual or less exercises, I'm able to kind of push harder. And obviously not just the weight, but the exertion on them. At least I feel like I am. So for sure do one more set. Probably want to do two, but see if we can hit 2 meters per second. We'll try to do the first pull because that's counting that rep, the one I do from the ground. We'll try to do that dynamically, or I should say do it quickly, and then have it connected into the other 3. See if I got it. Did I get it to 2? I got the middle one, the 203. First one only puts at 162, but second one I got above 2 seconds, or 2 seconds, 2 meters a second. Whew. We'll do one more set. See if I can. I don't think I'll get them all. So it was 193, 203, 189. The first pull off the ground was 163, 162. But my 1 rep max is not moving too. So as you get more data in it, those 1 rep maxes actually become pretty accurate. More so for the actual Olympic lifts. Pulls and stuff, it's kind of random, but I guess the more data you give it in general, the better. So this is the 5th set, the 5th triple. See if I can get all the reps above 2 seconds. 2 meters a second. I don't think that one was as fast. I don't know. It was 199, 202, and 198, so real close. The first pull was like 176. So that's one thing too. If you have any accelerometer, you can kind of assess the accuracy of the data just based on how consistent it is. Because if I was going to like 3 meters a second to 1 meter, if it was like really varying, then that would be concerning because I'm not moving it significantly different each set, or it's the same weight, same reps, everything. So if the speed, obviously, you try a bit harder, it goes a little bit faster, but it shouldn't. Like if I were to do 275 meters seconds, it would be like, all right, the data's not good, because sometimes it will give you a wonky reading if you're dropping the bar or something. It'll kind of get that messed up, but no, that's good for this training session. So at some point today, maybe right now, not on video, but do some light plyos. I was thinking of doing some really light, really low depth jumps. So maybe it's just like the blue or 2 blues on top, stacked on top, and just working on jumping a little bit or reintroducing that, but we'll see. But I don't know. It's interesting. I feel good. I feel motivated to train still, which I think is the most important. And strangely, I feel motivated to talk about training still. But I mean, I talked about a lot of the goals, so I won't ramble and be redundant with that. But I appreciate the kind words in that community post, because I was still feeling pretty crummy at that point. But thankfully, you know, getting up and just moving kind of cleared my head a bit and kind of just realigned what I think I need to do. And even if this doesn't work, like, I still have something I'm working towards. And it's hard to argue that getting faster won't be good, that training what I hope is more intelligently won't be a good thing, and losing a bit of weight to move faster will also be a positive thing as well. And if it's not, then I at least get to know that, and then I'll just bulk right back up and just go right to 290. But I have a feeling that some of these exercises will start to feel a little bit better. And what will be interesting is if, I don't necessarily think that like 90 or this like pulls I was doing will move necessarily faster. But what I think is the heavier weights will move a little bit faster, which is obviously the key. But obviously want to get more mobile and stuff, which I think will help being a little bit lighter too with that. But I don't know. I'll be curious. At worst, I'm lifting lighter right now, so that'll allow whatever's going on with my left knee to kind of fully get out, and then really work on my shoulder and make sure that's all hunky-dory before I start really trying to push the weights up. But still want to do a 140 snatch and 170 clean jerk. Still want to hit big numbers, but I might not need to worry about trying to do a competition even once a year, because really for me it's hitting the numbers. It's not doing it in a competition setting. But obviously, doing both is nice, but at the end of the day, it's about what weight you lifted, not where you lifted it at. But that being said, I appreciate it, especially if you made it to this point in the video. I know this will be a long one, but I think especially in the summer, I'll have more time to kind of ramble a bit out here. Hopefully the audio isn't too bad. If it doesn't sound too bad, then I probably won't bother with the lapel mic, because that just gets in the way if I try to wear it or anything like that. But tomorrow, same kind of session, but with cleans, and so hopefully that moves well. But I don't know. I'm ready to move forward. I think that's always a good thing, as long as you have something to work towards. Even if you have to refocus or something doesn't work, then it's good to have something that you can still push for. And trying to move faster and just more effectively in general will be good to do. But that being said, deuces. Something kind of interesting, so this will be a little addendum onto my monster video, but these are the hang power snatches that he did. So you can kind of see what I talked about with the data getting messed up. That 122, probably not accurate when the other ones were, 178, 183, 182, or the 180 was 182, so one of the 90s didn't read correctly. So, I mean, that is what it is. But what's interesting here is you can kind of see a linear regression as the exercises or as the reps went on from the distance. And so it actually did a really good job of measuring the distance of the, as it says down there, if I can get it to focus, and you'd be able to see it too, maybe not, but it says the repetition overall concentric vertical distance, so basically how high I pulled the bar. So then if you look at, if this will ever focus, there we go. No? Kind of. Basically, the last set, if it will ever focus, is 69.9, and then it went 83.83, and you kind of see the general trajectory of that. So that, I haven't ever really looked at that before, because it hasn't been a data point available to me, but that could be something that's interesting to look at, because that seems to be correlative to how many sets I did and how difficult they were. So could be more interesting data to look at week to week. But anywho, thanks for watching. Talk to you on the next one. Peace.